Why your search for purpose is the greatest barrier to finding peace. We dwell on to the demons called the words of the past, whose concepts used to be meaningful centuries ago. Before we were born, our personality formed to the present cells of our existential form. In this era of a truth so certain, we struggle with the new ways of changing world, of changing life, while trying to find a place, ours we can call. The history we read and associate with has a certain charm. Its behemoth volume of knowledge is enticing, and its complexity has a spark. That spark is quite well defined structure of the purpose of a person. It categorizes the whole society into groups, and every person's place in it is fixed, with different levels of flexibility, even before they were born. In the New World, it leads down a path which eventually gives rise to a confrontation. Now, confrontation with what? That is the question of importance, and how it is related to peace. I remember growing up listening to the stories of mythologies and the people. I remember the words of my elders. Their words had a certain way of appeal, which felt definitive in itself. They used to tell about their lives and the people around them. Their words revolved around fate, and its unraveling leads to a person achieving their goal. Their words inclined more towards fatalism, and so the beliefs inculcated within were molded to fit that narrative. But our new world does not stop there in terms of information and knowledge. In the olden days, information was very limited. First came the newspaper, which had a limited space and it had a limited area of coverage. So, people used to be less in touch with the outside world and its workings. They were more in touch with happenings around them, and their own ways of life were quite defined to that reality. Then came the era of radio and the television. Its area of coverage increased, but still it was not a complete scenario of the outside world. It was a one way traffic, and also the amount of information was very limited and was in a way condensed to fit the mindset of the local people. But as we ventured into the 2000s, the era of internet and then the social media, the understanding of how the world works itself changed. Now, the exclusivity of the information and knowledge did not bind itself to a limited few. Suddenly, the small world we knew no longer existed, and we were faced with a different reality altogether. All those ideas we grew up with became too small to quench our thirst, and as the time strolled by, we came face to face with the well defined structure itself. By now, you might be familiar with the philosophers, as the internet is filled with their so called said and unsaid words. But what their life actually was like? Well, they were born into a society like normal people, in a well defined structure and a hierarchy, where everyone knew their place in the world, what they had to accomplish, and thus worked hard to reach it. But in every society, there are misfits whose curiosity gets the best out of them. Their questions never stop. They question the unquestionable things. So, back in the olden days too, their choices became extremely limited and they had to undertake a journey if their conviction was strong enough to get answer to these questions. They left the ordinary life in search of their purpose of life. Their search led them to many places. They moved to different regions. They meditated to clear their mind. They met different people and they became familiar with different cultures, languages, ways of life, professions, festivals, and also systems of governance in place. In this quest of understanding, they also became familiar with the scriptures present in their times. After moving across so many different ideas for decades, they finally understood the nature and order of things. They finally understood the perspectives that made all the difference. They became teachers in later stages of life and lived a quiet life thereafter. How perspectives work. What thoughts flush our mind when we look at workers working in a construction site? The kind of work they do, none of us will be able to sustain even for a day. Then a thought comes, the hard labor they do and the remuneration they receive. Then a question comes, how do they even manage to do it day after day? To know how perspectives make us vulnerable and yet leads us out of our misery, and how we reach to the bottom of the purpose and the peace. Wait for the part 2 of this video. Thank you, and if you like these type of videos, do subscribe to this channel.